I already knew this game was amazing. I've got the Steam version and I've even played it in a Kawasaki arcade. What I worried about, however, was how it would work on Switch. There's a pretty huge disparity in the quality of the shmup ports we've seen, ranging from M2's stellar work on Esperade to Zero Div's bare bones dumps of Psycho games. Which I still love, by the way, but there's no denying that the port job is low effort. This port of Yotsubane's Crimzon Clover from Dejika Games, who kindly supplied me with this review copy, I am delighted to tell you falls very much on the positive side of the divide. Not only is this just one of the most kick-ass arcade shmups of all time, and make no mistake, it absolutely is, it's also a release that is packed with options and alternative ways to play, and everything is implemented in the smartest, most useful way possible, and the attention to detail with some of these options has been a delight to discover. So first let's look at the game itself, and then later we'll get into the range of options and extras available. The first thing you're going to notice when you start Crimzon Clover is that the new subtitle, World Explosion, is most definitely an apt description. This game is intense. The action is frantic and constant, and everything is exploding always. It's absolutely marvellous. The way you play is that perfect mix of simple to jump into, but with a ton of depth and strategy to consider the longer you play. First up, you have a forward shot. You start with 3 ships on offer and a 4th can be unlocked later, and the width of the shot spread and ship speed are the big difference makers here. But you can also change your ship's colour, which is just a nice little touch. Your second attack is a homing attack that works by holding down a second button to send out a lock-on circle with an expanding radius. Releasing the button then unleashes a heavy attack from the little pods that circle your main craft. Holding down the button for this homing attack also slows your movement speed, and this introduces an interesting little wrinkle in that if you're using the slow speed to move through dense patterns, you have to release it to get attacks off, and timing when to release can be an important decision to get right. When it comes to bombs, you do have them, but the way they work is part of a wider and very interesting system, one that plays a big part in elevating this game to such a highly renowned position in the shmup pantheon. The way it works is you charge the gauge in the upper right corner by shooting and killing enemies as you play. There is a bar marked bomb, and once your gauge passes this bar, you can unleash a very powerful screen clearing bomb. Passing this bar is very easy, and a first time player will no doubt be lulled into thinking the game is going to be a breeze. However, each time you use a bomb, the bar moves further up the gauge, making it more and more difficult to get there next time. This is a great little system on its own, but as mentioned, it's actually just one part of something much bigger. See, the gauge you're filling is not really a bomb gauge, but your break gauge. So your real goal is not to pass the bomb mark, but to max it out and activate the super powerful and manic smile-inducingly satisfying break mode. This both increases your power as a timer ticks down in the upper left of the screen, and massively boosts the points you're achieving. The eagle-eyed among you may have noticed something else though, namely a second break bar beneath the first, and filling this allows you to activate a double break mode that will see you frothing at the mouth high on your own power. You can fill this before activating the first break and then basically immediately jump into double break, but it's more effective to try and time the start of your initial break so that the second bar maxes out during the first break to maximise both score and length of time you're in your super souped up God of Destruction form. Of course, a further consideration will be timing things around boss battles. You don't want to jump into break mode only for the warning klaxon to ring out and your percentage to drop limply down to 0 while you wait for the big bad to appear. Equally, you don't want to be holding on to a full break bar all stage and miss out on all those juicy medals just so you can spaff everything all at once at the boss. You may also want to think about optimal timings for breaks during stages. Which enemy patterns will give you the most pointage versus what's the latest point you can let rip with a break and be sure to have recovered some gauge in time for the boss. And by the way, I am mainly talking about original mode here, because the game not only has several different modes, they are all very different from each other. To start with, you have to select from Novice, Arcade, or the new Arrange mode. Novice is pretty self-explanatory and comes with reduced further options. Arcade is the main meat of the package and offers you the choice of original mode, which is what's described above, a boost mode with permanent boost and fluctuating difficulty, unlimited mode, which is essentially an expert mode, and time attack, which, yeah, sure, is self-explanatory, but plays out on its own custom-made stage over its 3-minute length. On top of all that, we have the new arrange mode, which offers the same 4 further options, but seriously mixes up the gameplay with an alternate boost system that sees you granted different bonuses depending when you choose to activate it. There's a semi-automatic option the game advises you to try when you begin this mode, and that's all I've experienced so far myself, but this mode offers a great option for those for whom novice modes may be a bit too simple, but proper arcade mode may be a bit of a challenge. The arrange option certainly makes things easier for you, but it doesn't do so by just nerfing the enemies and dialing down the chaos completely, smartly recognising that doing that nullifies in many ways what this experience is all about. Instead, it gives you some bonus powers and some fatherly assists, while still offering a chance to enjoy an almost full cream experience. It's great to see, and whatever your skill level, I can promise you, Crimzon Clover offers an experience tailored exactly to you. I spoke at the top of the review about the plethora of options on offer here, and you might think I just covered them, but not even close. The game also offers perfectly implemented online and local scoreboards, with everything separated by mode, difficulty, and even craft chosen. I would like if there was an option to see scores achieved with all craft together, but it's a minor inconvenience, and on the whole the boards are just exceptionally well done. After each run, you'll also have a chance to save a replay in one of 50, yes 50, available slots, and there's also a training mode with extensive customization to allow you to practice pretty much whatever and however you like. There's also a nice little gallery section and a stats option that records how far you've got in each mode along with total playtime. Now, other than the cliche of a shiny red cherry, I honestly can barely think of anything else that could be added. And of course, we then have the more prosaic settings options, which offer all sorts of screen, sound and language options, easily customizable controls, an alternative soundtrack, and yes sir, TATE display options. I actually had one moment of terror when first switching to TATE mode, as the controls seemed to go completely haywire, but I soon realised you have to detach the Joy-Cons, otherwise it'll map the controls as if you were holding the whole Switch on its side by the left Joy-Con. Something that may sound a bit weird, but isn't as bad as I thought, although not a patch on sticking the thing in a flip grip, but it offers a viable option to anyone playing on a Switch Lite, and is a really lovely little extra bit of attention to detail. In terms of performance and presentation, I'm not the best judge of these things to be honest, but I have absolutely no complaints. I may be misremembering my time with the Steam version, but the sprites in this Switch version seem a bit more pixelated than on PC, but if that is a sacrifice that's needed to run the game, I'd much rather have that than drops or missteps in any other aspect of performance. The backgrounds are good looking and quite varied, but one thing you'll probably have noticed from this footage is it's quite rare to get a good look at them, since enemies, bullets, explosions and medals are constantly erupting from somewhere and filling the screen. Mark from the Electric Underground channel did a recent video on visuals in Shmups and made a really good point about medals and visual reward. I'll link the video below, but Crimzon Clover is an excellent example of the phenomenon, and the neurons in whatever areas of our brain it is pachinko machines target will be constantly on fire throughout each and every playthrough of this game. The game doesn't really have, as far as I can tell, any real story or theme, but in many ways that suits the gameplay perfectly. Who's in these machines and robots that keep firing at you? Who cares? This is an arcade game through and through, and the only thing that matters is hooking you in with tight gameplay that'll see you coming back for one more try. And keep coming back you surely shall, because if I haven't made it obvious enough by now, Crimzon Clover easily breezes its way into the uppermost echelons of shmups on the Switch, and will take its seat comfortably alongside the likes of Esperade and Rolling Gunner at the summit of almost any greatest or top 10 lists anyone cares to compile. I don't want to say definitively that this is the best shmup on Switch, but when you get to these rarefied heights it doesn't really matter. You'll be breathing the air of the gods when you play this one, and you owe it to yourself to add it to your collection. I rate Crimzon Clover a 10 out of 10, and I urge you to not just buy the game, But go out onto whatever social media or message boards you use and honestly, just shill for the game with all your might, because this is exactly the sort of release we need more of. And while vote with your wallets is a phrase often trotted out on the internet by man-children impotently encouraging people to boycott something, it works the other way too. If something's been done right, you can vote with your wallet to tell companies, yes, please and thank you, and give me more please. And that is exactly the message I hope Digica and maybe other shmup devs and publishers will hear from this release. This game deserves massive success, and I really hope it gets it. Let me know what you think when you get this, and thanks very much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Cheers.